guys, so today I'm going to be talking to you about differentiating ideas for multi-level classrooms. Differentiated instruction is crucial for ensuring that all students are given the equal opportunity to succeed in the classroom. Within the classroom, no two students are the same. You're going to have students who have a variety of different academic abilities. So within a single classroom, you might have students who test below average in one or more subjects, and then you might have students who test gifted in all of them. So the teacher needs to understand who needs the extra support and which students need to be further challenged so they keep learning and growing. And then within the classroom, you're also going to have children who have differing language proficiencies. So a classroom might have students who are English learners, where English is not their native language. So those students will probably need some extra support with their English skills. But then there are also students who have been speaking English their entire lives, but they might need some extra support to be at that average language proficiency. And then within the classroom, you're going to have children who have differing multiple intelligences. So within a single classroom, you might have a lot of children who are kinesthetic learners, or you might have a lot of children who are musical or naturalistic. And it's important that the teacher knows that so that she can incorporate those types of learning into her lessons to appeal to those types of learners. So, what is differentiated instruction exactly? Well, it is instruction directed to address diversity of abilities and language proficiencies within the classroom. So effective teachers will design their lessons to accommodate every student's learning needs. But in order to do this, the teachers need to know what their students' learning styles are, what their language proficiencies are, what their multiple intelligences are, and their schooling backgrounds. And this is all so that the teachers can create individual lessons to help each and every student, or just to modify certain lessons to help the students who need the extra help. So, why differentiated instruction? Well, classrooms are filled with students who have different needs. They come from different educational backgrounds. They have different attention spans and interests. They have different language abilities, and they have different cultural backgrounds. Every student is comprised of all of these characteristics. And within the classroom, your students are not going to come from the same places. They're not going to have the same backgrounds. They will not have the same academic abilities, language abilities. They'll need different types of learning, and they'll need different types of instruction. So you have to differentiate it. So, how do you incorporate differentiated instruction into the classroom? Well, when students understand the diversity in their classrooms, they can prepare their lessons accordingly. So, if you're introducing new content, you might want to consider modulating your speech to help introduce new vocabulary. And this is especially important if you have ELD students. So if you have ELD students or students who are having trouble with their language proficiency, when you're introducing a new vocabulary word, maybe like caterpillar, you might want to modulate it. So it's cat-ter-pillar. And have them repeat that back to you before putting it back or putting the word back together and saying caterpillar. So if you're introducing new content, you can also use different materials and a presentation style that appeal to your students and keep them engaged. So if you have a room full of spatial learners, you might want to give them lots and lots of pictures and manipulatives, because they might not learn as well from auditory learning or from reading a whiteboard with words on it. So you also, if you're having students perform a task or apply new knowledge, a teacher can consider grouping their students strategically based on their learning styles or language proficiencies. So if you have English learners in your class, you can pair them with fluent English speakers so that they can hear how the English speaker is saying their words. They can see how they're putting together their sentences, and they can just learn from that fluent English speaker. So you can also prepare different handouts for students depending on their abilities. So you can make complex handouts for the students who are doing better in their academics, and you can prepare handouts that are a little bit simpler for the students who are struggling or don't have the reading comprehension yet. And then when you're checking for understanding, you can also consider using leveled questions so that students can choose to answer questions that fit within their zone of proximal development. And you can also change the length of the content of an assignment to fit student ability. So if students are struggling, you can make their assignments a little bit shorter. So maybe instead of writing 5 paragraphs, maybe they can write 3. Or instead of reading 20 pages, they can read 10. Or maybe they can read 3 and write you a really short summary. So other examples of differentiated activities are differentiated sentence starters, which the teacher creates by choosing a question and then rewriting it at a variety of difficulties. And then the leveled questions are converted into sentence starters. And then the children can select which sentence starters they want to respond to. So you can have high thinking questions, you can have regular thinking questions, and you can have some really basic thinking questions. So students who are struggling, or ELD students who don't know how to articulate those higher level thoughts yet, they can choose the more basic sentence starters, or the students who are advanced can try to answer those higher thinking sentence starters. So then another example of a differentiated activity are leveled study guides. So if you're giving study guides to your students, you might want to keep in mind the students who have a little bit of trouble or who need that extra guidance. So instead of giving them the study guide that you're giving them the rest of the class, you might want to put some hints on theirs, like go to page 7 for the answer to this question, or incorporate some simple fill in the blanks so that they're just looking for specific words in the text. And then another thing that you can do to help, especially English learners, is to highlight text. So instead of giving them 5 pages of a story to write, highlight the really important passages on each page and have them decode those. So that way you're just making it a little bit simpler, and you're taking that stress away from them of having to read 5 full pages when they're struggling decoding text as it is. So at the end of the day, your students might need personalized instruction, and that's okay. Our job as teachers is to make sure that every student is given the opportunity to succeed in the classroom, and we need to be able to provide that differentiated instruction to appeal to all of our learners. So now I'm going to take a moment to let you guys type in your questions in the comments, and this is something that teachers do a lot. Where they give their students a minute to think after their instruction and to kind of take in all of that information, and to also just ask questions and to ask clarifying questions. So, all right, have a nice